Hello and welcome to another retrospective video of an iconic adventure game franchise. We continue our coverage of Sierra's online IPs with the Conquest series. There are two games released under the Conquest brand, the first being Conquest of Camelot, The Search for the Grail of 1990, and the second the Conquest of the Longbow, The Legend of Robin Hood of 1991. Both games were written by Christy Marx, a renowned American screenwriter and author, and were designed by her husband Peter Ledger, an Australian comic book artist and illustrator. Both games follow well-known stories, that of the Arthurian legend and that of Robin Hood. The series is not as popular as the rest of the famous Sierra franchises, but both games are excellent examples of deep historical research of the time they take place in and also contain rich stories and solid characters. Conquest of Camelot, The Search for the Grail is a graphic adventure game released in 1990 by Sierra Online and the first game in the Conquest series. It was developed for the MS-DOS, Amiga and Atari ST. The story takes place in the 9th century at the Camelot Castle ruled by King Arthur. Because of the events that took place with the love triangle of King Arthur, his wife Guinevere, and the knight Lancelot, a strange curse has fallen on the land. This curse has brought famine and drought to plague the kingdom, and the only thing that can reverse the curse is the revealed Holy Grail. Lancelot, or Launcelot as he is mentioned in the game, along with two more knights of the round, Gawain and Galahad, embark on a quest to find it and bring it to Camelot. When all three of them disappear without a trace, King Arthur leaves his castle in search of the missing knights, hoping to locate the Grail as well. His quest takes him to real and mythical locations in England and later to Jerusalem and other areas of the Holy Lands. The game plays like a typical Sierra adventure game of the 80s, utilizing a third-person perspective and a text parser similar to that of the early King's Quest games. The player controls King Arthur in a pseudo 3D environment, as at the time 3D was referring to that the character can move behind objects on screen and have a zoom out effect on the character sprite as he moved deeper into the game's background. The game includes several action sequences, puzzles and riddles, some of which can feature alternative solutions. Unlike other adventure IPs of the time, the game does not focus on inventory-based puzzles but on exploration, solving riddles, gathering information, participating in arcade sequences such as jousting. A primitive money management system is also present in the search for the Grail. A key theme of the game is that King Arthur must also prove himself worthy of the Holy Grail before locating it, and to do so, the scoring system of the game comprises of three different kinds of points. Skill, when the player performs deeds that help him or defeats enemies. Wisdom, when examining things, talking to others or gaining hints. And Soul, when performing good deeds to help others. Failure to achieve a high score in the last category leads to the bad ending of the game. Another key figure of the Arthurian legend, the wizard Merlin, acts as the game's narrator, speaking and counseling the player. The game is set in a certain historical period, but adds an alternative reality to it by presenting that the worship of Jesus Christ coexists with the presence of old Greek and Roman deities. The deep historical research that is used to create the game's world is also represented by the fact that the Holy Grail's power seems to be common for both the Christian and pagan religions, as it is represented as a holy relic but also as an artifact of feminine power, a common concept in the old gods' folklore. The package included a map of Europe in Arthurian times and an illustrated manual called Liber Ex Doctrina, which is Latin for Book of Doctrine. The book includes information about the evolution of the Arthurian myths, as well as Greek and Roman mythology, and also served as the game's copy protection, since the user had to answer questions based on information located in the Liber Ex Doctrina. Both those documents and the game's overall packaging features the magnificently detailed artwork by the game's designer Peter Ledger. Conquest of Camelot, The Search for the Grail was developed using Sierra's Creative Interpreter, or SCI, version 0. That engine limited the game's graphics to EGA with a 320 by 200 resolution. The game was praised for its story and historical research, but was criticized for its visuals that looked outdated for a 1990 game. Conquest of the Longbow: The Legend of Robin Hood is a graphic adventure game published by Sierra Online in 1991 for the MS-DOS and the Amiga, and the second game in the Conquest series. The game is set just after the Third Crusade ended. Richard the Lionheart, King of England, returns to Europe from the Holy Land. On his way, he is ambushed and abducted by the soldiers of the Austrian Duke Leopold. The Duke demands a large ransom to be paid in exchange for the king's freedom. However, the king's brother, Prince John, is unwilling to pay the ransom and plots on usurping the throne for himself. That is when the legendary Robin Hood, one who robs from the rich and gives to the poor, decides to raise the money needed to liberate the king with the help of his fellow outlaws of Sherwood Forest. The game plays like a true point-and-click adventure, utilizing a third-person perspective. Contrary to the previous game in the series, Conquest of the Longbow uses an icon-based interface common to most contemporary Sierra adventures. The player controls Robin Hood to walk between screens and interact with characters and objects by clicking on them. For navigation between screens, the game has several hotspots built into a map. As in its predecessor, the focus is more on exploration and varied tasks dictated by the situation at hand and less on puzzle solving. There are also mini-games involving archery and combat of varied difficulty. The game is divided into days, each day is completed when certain tasks have been fulfilled. Each day involves certain actions that must be completed before advancing and ends with a cutscene of Robin Hood and his men discussing the plot and the day's events. As was the case with the previous game, the score is divided into three aspects: the number of points for puzzles solved, the amount of money collected for King Richard's ransom, and the number of Robin's outlaws who are still alive. Depending on how well the player scores in each of those aspects, the ending is decided. There are 4 separate endings ranging from the bad one, where Robin Hood is captured and hanged, to the best one, where he is granted a noble title and married to the woman he loves. As was the case with the first game of the series, Conquest of the Longbow is based on tremendous historical and cultural research. There are numerous essays by the series creator Christy Marks included in the game's manual, with topics that range from detailed analysis of the Robin Hood legend to those covering early British history. The game was developed using the later iteration of Sierra's Creative Interpreter, or SCI version 1. It featured detailed VGA graphics and Sierra's standard icon-driven interface first seen in King's Quest V. Conquest of the Longbow: The Legend of Robin Hood was critically acclaimed when released, achieving perfect scores in reviews of the publications of the time. However, due to the game's nature and heavy historical influence, both the Conquest series games were unsuccessful with regards to sales. That, along with Peter Ledger's untimely death in a driving accident, caused no more sequels in the series to be produced. That was the full history of the Conquest series, a franchise developed to appeal to adult audiences with an interest in European history and the two most popular legends of the continent, that of King Arthur and Robin Hood. The niche market they were designed for, along with their low sales, sealed the fate of this franchise, which is a pity as both games were excellently crafted and provided rich background information on the time periods and events they portrayed. Do not forget to watch my many retrospectives on iconic franchises like Loom, King's Quest, Space Quest, Gabriel Knight, and more. You can also find my 2-hour documentary on the rise and fall of the genre. If you like the content of my channel, please consider supporting it by subscribing and turning on the notifications for it to know when a new video is up. You can also consider supporting me by becoming a member of my YouTube channel. There is one membership tier and you will have a lot of benefits like exclusive updates on upcoming videos, you get to watch each new video earlier, you get to decide the topic of upcoming videos, and also member exclusive giveaways that will follow. We will have the next adventure game video soon. Thank you all for watching.